Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my research proposal. My name is Samantha Capobianco, and my topic is using community engagement to support Inuit youth well-being. The purpose of this study is to see how community involvement in a positive manner can help Inuit youth well-being. Understanding how community engagement can positively affect students' well-being, especially young children, educators can effectively implement it into their lessons in classroom. I believe mental health should be addressed at a young age, and programs such as these can help this. My sister has founded and runs a hockey organization in a northern Inuit community. Students not only participate in the sports, but are required to have a high attendance in school and run multiple community fundraisers sharing their culture with other communities. She has noted a higher community engagement and a more positive mental well-being among students involved. Key terms. The term well-being stems from the 4 elements of the medicine wheel, connecting to Aboriginal approaches of holistic well-being, balancing physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. The Inuit peoples are defined in NCCAH as the original inhabitants of the Arctic regions of the area now known as Canada. Community engagement is the positive relationship within the community and with fellow peers to motivate students to stay actively engaged in their community. The programs or organizations can vary, such as sports programs, community programs, or volunteering in the community. There are 3 main themes and strategies that come from my literature review. 1 is to ensure that there are community and cultural connections in their leadership and community programs. 2 is that there are many mental health issues that community engagement addresses, including rising suicide rates among Canadian Indigenous youth. 3 is that in order for these programs to be successful in helping youth in well-being, it is important to make sure that these programs are engaging. The main 3 areas I found missing from the literature are: how does the community engagement affect young children, especially in grades K to 6? As mentioned before, I believe that mental health and well-being should be addressed starting from a young age, and yet most of the literature focuses on teens and adults. The next point is, how can programs involve schools or educators in community engagement? Children spend a lot of their time in the classroom, so why not include schools? Lastly, how can teachers integrate strategies to promote positive youth engagement into lessons? The purpose of this study is to understand the positive effects of community engagement on Inuit youth well-being and how educators can use community engagement into their lessons. My research question is, how can teachers use community engagement in elementary school, grades K to 6, to support Inuit youth well-being? My methodology will be mainly through interviews with youth who participate in community programs, community members, and with educators in the community. I would also want to focus on one community to gain the most amount of information and not to compute traditions and culture from different communities in the results. I intend to practice relational accountability throughout the facilitation of interviews, showing relational awareness and respect with the community and participants. My goal is to find out how or if these programs or strategies involve schools and what the community perceptions are of any community program. The main questions I would like to focus on are community engagement practices incorporated into a curriculum? If so, how? Have you noticed a change in youth mindsets in the students involved in community engagement? If yes, in what ways? Do you incorporate any community traditions or culture into your classroom? Can you provide any examples? Do you notice any difference in students' connections to their community? I want to focus on youth involved in community programs, educators of kindergarten to grade 6, and community members so that I can get an understanding of what effects have been seen and what programs are implemented from the perspective of those familiar with them. All participants would be anonymous. The main ethical issues I can see that I might encounter are recognizing and appropriately representing the community, facilitating interviews with vulnerable people, mainly young children, and the right to privacy, especially when concerned with mental health and well-being. Assumptions present in this research are that teachers have implemented cultural traditions and community engagement opportunities into their lessons, and the community has programs for youth to participate in. Limitations are that not every First Nations and Inuit community are the same, culture, traditions, etc., and therefore the conclusions from this study may not apply to all communities. And again, there's the right to privacy, especially when concerned with mental health and well-being. There are clear concerns with mental health and well-being, with rising rates of suicide among Indigenous peoples, and Inuit communities are noted to have the highest rates of suicide among Indigenous communities and in the world. The literature that I read on this topic emphasized that programs that kept Indigenous youth engaged, involved, and had a positive effect on their well-being only occurred when the program addressed and incorporated their cultural and community traditions. Mental health and well-being should be addressed from a young age. Research notes that programs are successful in benefiting youth's well-being. I believe that implementing these strategies into curriculum and teaching will also help achieve the same benefits and success noted in the literature. Thank you again for your time.